Hey, what's up, everybody? It's just Charles Sabanson, and welcome you guys to another episode of the DREAMERSPRO show. We cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we'll give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And folks, we got some kind of show for you guys here today. Before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, this is a topic that I first heard about yesterday on Too Raw for Sports. He had published a show on it. And it was centered on these Kevin Garnett comments, right? So as I was watching his show, I listened to a bit of it because he played a bit of it. And then after I finished watching his show, the video itself was now recommended to me from, I think, the All the Smoke channel. And in this clip, it was featuring Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce. Now, let's pause right there for a second. How do we get here? As you guys know, about 5 or 6 days ago, Anthony Edwards spoke to the Wall Street Journal, and he made some comments that pissed off a lot of people, right? That pissed off a lot of people, where he essentially disrespected an entire era of NBA players, right? By basically saying that there were no skilled players in the past with the exception of Michael Jordan. His exact quotes were, "They say it was tougher back then than it is now, but I don't think anybody has skill back then. Jordan was the only one that really has skill. So that's why when they saw Kobe, they're like, oh my God, but now everybody has skill." Those comments have gotten Anthony Edwards in some serious hot water, because the amount of pushback that he's receiving, it ain't nothing to play with. A lot of people have been pushing back on him. People in the independent space, former NBA legends like Magic Johnson himself, who came out and said, while he was speaking to Stephen A. Smith, he said, because Stephen A. Smith asked him to respond to these comments, he said, "I never respond to a guy that's never won a championship. He didn't win a college championship. I don't know if he even won a high school championship." Those were Magic Johnson's comments, basically saying this is beneath me, number one. Number two, if I start responding to people like Anthony Edwards, I actually diminish my value for what I accomplished, right? So he pushed back. But then Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce decided to push back, but really KG was the one that went in. Here's what surprised me about KG. KG is a guy that played in the 2000s. We all witnessed Kevin Garnett's career. I certainly did when he was with the Minnesota Timberwolves with Stephon Marbury. Then he was doing his thing with Wally Szczerbiak and all of these guys. I remember when he won the regular season MVP award. He was arguably the best player in the world. Like, he was in that conversation for the best player in the world. KG, he was up there. So he was a hell of a player. I remember when he joined the Boston Celtics. I remember when he beat Kobe's Lakers. I remember all of that, right? And if you know anything about Kevin Garnett, he's a very, very intense person. He's a very, very competitive person. So, to hear some of the things that Kevin Garnett had been saying over the past few months on the GOAT debate and all of that was really disheartening. Because in the past, he would take a strong line. He was like, Jordan's the GOAT. He would really defend his era. But then it seemed like he was all of a sudden looking for reasons to prop up this era and say things that a lot of us who grew up watching KG play were like, bro, what happened to you, right? So to witness him kind of just completely manhandling Anthony Edwards yesterday in the fashion that he did, I was very, very surprised, but I was also relieved, because I'm like, somebody needs to bring this kind of energy to these kind of conversations. We need to stop with the nonsense. We need to stop intellectualizing the nonsense and really call out these garbage takes when we see it. And that is exactly what Kevin Garnett did in a way that I have not seen anybody in sports media really attack this particular subject matter. So these are the comments that we want to get into today. But before we even get into what Kevin Garnett had to say, today's video is brought to you by our sponsor, PrizePicks, which is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. PrizePicks is really simple. Instead of just selecting a team, you just select 2 or more players, pick more or less their projected stats, and then you place your entry. For example, this week, I'm selecting 2 entries. Stephen Curry for more than 25 points, and then I got Anthony Davis for more than 2 blocks, and Damian Lillard for more than 4 3-pointers made. PrizePicks is also the only daily sports platform with an injury insurance policy. So for example, if you have a player who gets injured in the first half and doesn't return to the second half, that player gets automatically rebooted. What I also love about PrizePicks is that it offers weekly promotions like Taco Tuesdays. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value. So go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match of up to $100. That's go to prizepicks.com/CLNS, use code CLNS for a first deposit match of up to $100. And remember, whenever you support this sponsor, you're supporting this channel. Thank you. So what we'd like to do is we'd like to play Kevin Garnett's comments. He said a lot, but we want to play the most important parts for you guys. So we want you guys to listen to everything that he said here, and then we're going to come back and really get into the show. Take a listen to what KG had to say here.
If I'm being honest, bro, I don't think anybody in this generation could have played like 20 years ago. If I'm being 100, and this is to Ant, this is to everybody in our league, Tatum, all y'all. Let me tell y'all something, bro. 20 years ago, bro, you couldn't get to a triple step back.
Nah.
You hear what I'm saying to you? You couldn't get to a triple step back. And then if you shot that it had to go in. You know why? Because we had efficiency back in the day, my dude, and it was so it was too physical. And guess what? The league had to come off of it for the flow of movement to be able to have scoring go up, which is why we like to sit here and watch kind of the rat race of the high-paced game, right? But, bro, let's not talk about the game and let's not talk about the physicality of the game back then. Real I only think half these kids in the league could have been on an NBA team 20 years ago.
Straight up.
The locker room was too, it was too grown.
You know what I watched too?
It was too grown. It was too of them. It was too much of a fraternity. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, man.
Just
like
the hand check.
No, bro. It was a different vibration. David Stern did a great job of taking all of the physicality out of the game. You understand? Freedom of movement means freedom of movement. Man, back in the day when you had to get by Paul because Paul was squared up with you and ready to slide, and then he could body you, he could poke, he could use his hands, but I can use my hands.
I could fight through a screen.
Bro, the in the Olympics was similar style play when the guard can ride you damn near over the pick.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to get out of that, and Holiday, when he come out and he get over, he there. Right. So if you go to cross him, bro, you don't even. That's what I'm saying, bro. Man, the levels in which you had to be not only strong enough but skilled enough to get by this. You understand? And then they ain't never seen a 6'7" Rodman guard you. Bro, I see you. And you know, you in the scout report. We know you go left. We know you can finish right, but you go left to pull up. Bro, everybody knows, bro, in the games back then. The Isaiah Thomases and the Dumars, man, Dumars shut Jordan down. Bro, they was coming to the lane, bro. You might get your nose broke trying to dunk. You understand? Dwayne Wade broke Cole's nose in the All-Star game. Man, bro, it's just different. It was very different back then, bro. Real. I'm talking about in the locker room. You can't be on your phone in the locker room. You can't. Bro, 20 years ago? Nah, nobody in this era could have played 25 years ago. We said that. And I'm talking about not just the play and all the skill that everybody got, actually was called bad shots and lack of efficiency. It was until they start data and saying take more threes than twos. Before then, we played ball, bro. We didn't give a that the GM couldn't come down and say, put into a game plan with a coach like Doc or D'Antoni talking about we trying to get touches and touch the paint. Bro, I didn't see.
Yeah, it's hard to say more skill.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Nobody in this era has a mid-range.
Bro, you couldn't get, nobody.
Nobody in this era has a post game.
And the ones that do look amazing. Look at Shea. Shea got a mid-range.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, it's only like a few of them got.
That's what I'm saying, bro. 2 dribble, pull up.
Yeah, they don't.
Try to do it. Okay, young fella, if you hear me. And then y'all exhaust the ball. Y'all are dribbling the air out of the ball.
Right.
Y'all dribble the ball 100 times more than another.
Right.
Catch it off the bounce. One dribble, two dribble, pull up. Let me see you do that off the bounce.
Right.
Let me see your skill work off that. I ain't even known it like this, but bro, you can't come not expect a rebuttal. Bro, real was totally different. And you had to have that work, and you had to really work on your You know, you was out 2-3 games, man. Your teammates, hey, bro, what you doing tonight? You going? Nah, I can't go, man. My toenail off, man. I can't. Nah, bro, you can't even come in here and lead no like that. You hear me?
Nah.
So you had to strap it up, and you had to get out here. You had to dive on the floor. You had to get in the rumble. Yeah.
Right.
Real You had, man, it was men leading men. Yeah, ain't none of these no lockout. And Anthony Edwards don't know what's going on with the league policy. This, bro, you understand what I'm talking about? The leader, bro. Man, I can't even have this conversation.
You can't even say it if you ain't watched.
It ain't the same.
So you heard what Kevin Garnett had to say. First of all, let's clap for KG. Let's clap for KG. Let's clap for KG. Let's give it up. Let's give it up to KG. Okay, because Kevin Garnett, not only did he shut down Anthony Edwards and his nonsense and the people that try to support that nonsense, he did it in a way that pretty much let people know that thought that Anthony Edwards was saying something. They're like, nah, we're not going for it. We're not going for it. Like, enough is enough with the nonsense. We not going for it. Now, we couldn't show you his visual countenance and how he was looking. At one point, he just took off his glasses. And you could tell at various points in that monologue, he was actually trying to restrain himself. He was, because it looked like he could have gone even harder. And personally, I think that this is what needs to happen. When people go out there and say these crazy things, somebody needs to step up to the lectern and shut it down in a way that if somebody else thinks they're going to come out here and say some crazy stuff, they'll think twice. Number one. Number two, if I think about all of the people that have touched on this subject in terms of like NBA players, with the exception of, let me say, Magic Johnson, Kevin Garnett is arguably the most qualified person that I've heard talk about this. Now, I haven't heard other people talk about it, Charles Barkley, but he's amongst them. He's certainly amongst them because he's an MVP. He's a Defensive Player of the Year. He's a multiple-time All-Star. He's an NBA champion. He's an All-NBA player. He was a really, really competitive guy. He actually was in some serious battles. So Kevin Garnett is overqualified to respond to this subject. He's overqualified. And if you listen to him carefully, he could have gone even harder. He could have gone even, look, Anthony Edwards clearly did not have a clue of what he was talking about, number one. Number two, I think it's pretty alarming that Anthony Edwards, as an NBA player, doesn't even know the history of his own league. And we're not talking about something that occurred 50 years before his birth. Anthony Edwards were 23, 24? So he's probably born in the year, 2000? So you mean to tell me you don't know anything beyond what you heard about Jordan and maybe the modern NBA? You don't know anything that came before that? Nothing before that? Nobody around you hipped you to this? Nobody around you was like, yo, check out these highlights. Maybe your coaches? Nothing? You don't know nothing about none of that? You don't even have the curiosity to be like, what were players like in the 90s? What were players like in the 80s? What were they doing? You have none of that. And what makes it worse is that not only do you have none of that information, you then decide to comment on it. That's what's absurd to me. And there were people actually, some people in the minority, actually thinking that they were coming to the defense of Anthony Edwards or actually thinking that he was saying something, when in reality he was not. It is crazy, those comments. But here's what's going to happen. I'm going to be laughing at this era in the next few years. Oh, you better believe it. Because you know what's going to happen? The next generation that's coming up is going to be even more disrespectful and clueless than this generation. And you know what's going to happen? You're going to have the future generation calling this particular generation trash. They're going to be like, we done with the 2020. Then y'all going to see what it be like. Then y'all going to be running around talking about, what are they talking about? They don't know the history of the game. Blah, 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 blah. And nobody going to feel sorry for your asses. Do you know why? Because this generation actually has zero respect for the generations that come before. Zero. My generation was the 2000s, 2010. Those are the guys that I actually grew up watching. But I also have a deep reverence and respect for generations before. Not this generation. This generation, all they know is what they have seen. And they don't know anything beyond that. So it's going to be very interesting to see how you guys cope. But in terms of Kevin Garnett, I 100% support his message, and I 100% support how he said it. It needed to be said that way. And people like KG in his era need to stand up and stop trying to buddy with these dudes and say all kind of crazy stuff and give them a pass. Somebody got to call it out. We got to have some type of elderly structure within the community. We can't just be letting the young boys run around say anything and the older dudes like, well, you know, he's young. It's like, nah, you need to correct that. You need to correct that. We need to have some checks and balances. These are my thoughts. Whatever you guys think, leave your thoughts in the comments and we catch you on the next show. Peace.